Okay, so after you've got your animation in Blender ready to render, so don't forget to save it, Control S, because if there's any time that Blender is going to crash, it's during rendering. So next, on the right hand side panel over this Output Properties tab that looks like a printer, click on that, and then down under this caret that says Output, you're going to want to choose a different place other than your temporary folder to save your work. So let's go to wherever you want it to go. I'm going to go over here to where I have blenders, and I'm going to make a new folder just for this project, and I'm going to call it Ball Bounce Render 1. Just in case I have to render more than one, I know this is the first one. So after I have that folder selected, I choose Accept. Down here, choose FFmpeg Video, and then untwirl this encoding tab so that you can change the container from Matroska to an MPEG-4 or MP4. So MP4, and medium quality, video codec is H.264. This looks okay. Frame rate, I'm going to change this to 12 frames per second. And I'm going to call that good. So I'm going to save it again. Control S. Don't forget to save. Saving's good. Okay, so now go up to upper left, choose Render and Render Animation. And you should see your animation start to play. And stop when it's finished. So now I'm going to go double check where I saved this file. And there it is. There are a couple different ways to do this. This is just one way, and it's a pretty simple way. If you have problems doing it this way, I might have you do it a separate way, which is to render a sequence of images. So instead of rendering as an FFmpeg video, you'll render as JPEGs or PNGs if you want. The JPEGs. And this way, when you press Render Animation, you'll see the same thing happening. You'll see the image take up your whole screen. But now when you go into this folder, instead of just seeing one video file, you'll see a sequence of images. And so this is a better way to render, because if your render crashes halfway through, you don't have to start all the way from the beginning again. You can just start where it left off. Also, if you want to change something later on or add more frames to the end of this, you can do it this way. So by having all of these frames, the next thing I would do is go back to Blender, and I can close this other render box now. Go back to Render, up at the top, choose the plus, and go down to Video Editing, and that'll bring up a timeline where you can, let's see, center up this lighter gray area, which is the render area. Press the jump to start so that you put your playhead back at the beginning, and then you use the shortcut Shift A to add an image sequence. And so I'll choose Ball Bouncer Render 1, and I'll just, once I see this folder that has all of my frames in it, I'll just press A to select them all, and then add image strip. And that'll add in this ribbon of your images that when you press play, you should see your animation play across the screen. So at this point, now that you have your image strip in here, you'll go back and do the same step that we did to render the first way. So you'll change this from a JPEG back into the FFmpeg video, and choose MPEG-4 instead of Matroska for the encoding container. And now you can go ahead and press Render Animation. And that actually might have just copied over this one that we already had in here. But that's okay, because they were named the same thing. There you have it. That's how to render.